And you wanna? There we go. We'll set it to record. Good evening, everyone. I'm Monica Boncampania with Education for Tomorrow Alliance. We are glad that you are joining us this evening for the Distinguished Speaker Series. We will get started momentarily, but first of all, I just want to thank our evening sponsor, which is DLR Group. They're an architecture firm here in Houston and beyond. They do a lot of schools and stadiums and things related to education. With that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our program director, Corinne, to let you know what you need to know.
Great, thank you. Good evening, students. I see a lot of new names, so welcome to the EfTA Distinguished Speaker Series. We've a great speaker tonight. I'm just going to give you a couple of logistics just before we get started. We're in a webinar right now, so we cannot see you or hear you. You will have an opportunity to ask some questions towards the end, so you can either use the Q&A feature or you can use the chat feature to submit those questions. And then whenever we get to your question, I'll bring you over as a panelist and ask you to unmute and give you a chance to ask your question directly to our presenter, as opposed to me just reading off all the questions. If you are at a computer or you're on a phone and you don't have a microphone that works, please just let me know that at the beginning of your question, so I don't call you over and then do the whole awkward, can you hear me? Can you not? All the things. If you are here to get credit for school or anything like that, you don't have to turn in your one pager to us, nor do we have the sheet that you have to fill out. You will get that from either your headmaster or the teacher or someone who sent you this link to attend. With that, I think that's it. But again, you can use the chat and the Q&A feature. Submit your questions throughout the evening, but we'll have like a dedicated Q&A time towards the end. I will turn it back over to Monica, who will help introduce our speaker for this evening.
Again, I'm very pleased to announce our speaker this evening. He is someone who has been in this community, as you will hear, for a long time, but he is also sort of one of my personal go-to problem solvers. He is a friend and a mentor, and just has a great way of thinking about things. So with that, I will introduce Brian Pellon. He is a vice president of R&D and site director at the Huntsman Advanced Technology Center in the Woodlands, right there in Research and Gosling, for those of you that know right where that is, since October of 2005. At this site, approximately 250 scientists, engineers, technicians, and support staff develop new products, processes, applications for Huntsman's advanced materials, polyurethanes, and performance products divisions. Mr. Pellon has also assumed the duties of site director at Huntsman's corporate headquarters here in the Woodlands since 2014. Mr. Pellon received a BS in chemistry from the University of Vermont in 1982 and joined El Paso Products Company as a catalyst research chemist. He progressed through several R&D, technical service, product management, and marketing roles until the company was purchased by Huntsman in 1997. Since that time, he's been in leadership roles for Huntsman's Polymers Division, corporate Six Sigma efforts, as well as project leader for the design and construction of the Advanced Technology Center prior to its opening in 2005. He's active in the Woodlands community, representing Huntsman on the Education for Tomorrow Alliance Board of Directors, as well as the Woodlands Area Chamber, and he's been involved in a number of things, which I'm assuming we'll get a chance to hear about this evening. And with that, I will welcome and turn it over to Mr. Brian.
Well, Monica, thank you for the wonderful introduction. And thank you all for joining in tonight to listen. I'm happy to do this. As Monica said, I've been active in the community, especially on the EfTA. I've been on the board for, I think, 16 years now. And so it's been something that's been a pleasure and an honor to be part of. And I'm a bit passionate about things like this, anything that we can do to help the students in the community, whether it's through the science fairs or in-class programs or any of the things like this Distinguished Speaker Series. So happy to be here. So I want to talk to you tonight about a couple of things and I promise, absolutely swear that it will not be boring, and that I'll maybe try to make it a little interactive. So there's not a quiz, but pay attention anyways, because maybe that will spark some good questions for you at the end of our chat. But I do want to tell you, I do want to talk about two things, and taking risks and embracing change. So just think about those two things, taking risks and embracing change. And because I think they're key. They're key to how you succeed in business, probably even in life to some respects. And so I want to touch on that as I go through, it's going to sound boring, but kind of my career a little bit. And I'm going to highlight 3 or 4 areas where those two items, taking a risk and embracing a change, quite frankly, if I didn't do some things, wouldn't be sitting here tonight talking to you guys. So I think I think it's going to be an interesting thing. I hope so. So just a bit more about me. As Monica said, I work for Huntsman. Been here in the Woodlands now for almost 20 years, and have the opportunity, the privilege of being the oversight of our R&D center and our corporate office. I am a chemist, and they don't let me practice chemistry anymore because I haven't done it for that long. So I get to go to meetings and help other people practice chemistry that are frankly much smarter than I am in that regard. I don't know if you caught it or not, Monica massacred it, but she tried anyways. I went to the University of Vermont. And I'm sure all of you, having gone to school in Texas, have studied Texas history, but in case you don't know, this is where Vermont is, right? And I say that a bit tongue in cheek because I was born there, raised there, went to high school there, went to college at the University of Vermont because that's just what you did. You didn't go anyplace else. And then we've been in Texas now for the 40 years since then. And I say this jokingly, but seriously, have come across numerous people in those years that when they say Vermont, oh, is that near New England? Or, oh, you're Canadian, eh? That really don't have a clue where some of our states reside. And having had 2 kids that went through Texas schools, I know U.S. geography and world geography take a back seat to Texas geography. So important that you know where Vermont is. That this will come into play in a bit later. So, like I said, in the past 40 years, that frankly, since we left Vermont, a couple, 3 or 4 things that I want to share with you, where in retrospect, I can look back at it and go, taking a risk and embracing a change made a huge difference. So let me start with the very first one, and that was before we left Vermont, actually. And my grandfather was an immigrant, came from Spain back in the early 1900s, along with obviously thousands of other people that came over from Europe. And for reasons that none of us understand, he and many of his other people that were on the same boat ended up in central Vermont. There was a lot of granite quarries there, and they ended up as stone cutters and made monuments and different things like that. And he started a family, had my father and my mother, also born and raised in the same very rural area. She grew up on a dairy farm, and they both, went to high school. Maybe my father took a course or 2. He worked for the state. My mother did some bookkeeping. And I was the oldest son and the first born in the family. And it was decided by all of them that I was going to be the first that was going to go to college. And of course, I would be a doctor because that's just what you were going to do. And so that's all I ever heard. It's like, oh, you're going to be the first in the family to go to college and be a doctor and all will be good. And I thought that was great. And I said, well, a lot of kids do that. A lot of students, people try to do that. But I'm going to take an angle. I'm going to do a chemistry major instead of a biology major, and then I'll maybe have a leg up. Well, the long story short, I graduated, went to University of Vermont, was studying chemistry in pre-med, and it was probably about my sophomore, junior year, that 2 things happened. I'll tell you one of them, and then I'll maybe let you guess the other one that changed my life. One was I found out there was a whole lot of other students who wanted to be doctors, who wanted it a lot worse than I did, and very competitive, very cutthroat. And I said, I'm not sure that's what I want to do. Anybody and I think Corinne told me you can come in the chat. Anybody have a guess what the other thing happened that made me go, maybe I don't want to go to school for the next 10 or 12 years? What do you think happened, Monica? No, not cost. It's a good guess. Met a girl. Fell in love. Said, maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe we want to start a life, go to work, get a job, have a family. So that's what we did. Not a popular decision in the Pellon household at that time, saying, no, you're supposed to be a doctor. You're supposed to do all these things. And we said, no, that's not right. That's not right. That's not for us. So we didn't do that. I graduated, got a job for a chemical company. We moved to what to us was across the world, 300 miles south into northern New Jersey, and started working. In a matter of 6 months, we graduated, got jobs, got married, and moved away. Not gonna lie, we were scared to death. We had never lived outside of Vermont. We'd never been away from our families. We were living 30 minutes outside of New York City, so we'd gone from a town where we grew up of about 7,000 or 8,000 people to a town with, to a metropolitan area with what, 20 million. We could have easily just tucked tail and said, oh, this is no good, and gone back home. My wife is a nurse. She can work anywhere. I have a degree in chemistry. I could have worked for the state doing water samples. I could have taught high school chemistry. We could have done any number of things, but we didn't. We said, no, we need to try this. We need to take a chance. So that's the first time that we took a risk and embraced change, right? Just said, maybe this isn't so bad. Maybe we can get used to this. So and again, it's easy now. We look back at that and we go, what if we didn't? What if we didn't do that? What if we had taken the easy way out? So the second time was not too long after that. We had been living in New Jersey for barely a year. We were living in an apartment that is probably about the size of my garage right now, and we thought it was wonderful, right? We thought it was better than a dorm room, and we were both working, we had money, and we could go to the movies and do things like that. And we hadn't even been there barely a year, and the company went through some changes, and it was over a Labor Day weekend, and we had actually driven to the coast of Maine for the 3-day weekend, and we're just having a little break, and I knew things were happening at the company, and we had to. So I got a little concerned. I said, maybe I should call in and see what's going on. So this is 1983. There were no cell phones. You can Google. You may have seen one of these before. This is a phone booth, and you actually put coins in it, and you make phone calls. And I know I sound like I'm being a little sarcastic, but we absolutely lived by that, right? So we were in a phone booth, not unlike that one there, in Wells Beach, Maine, and I'm pumping quarters into this thing, and I call the office that I worked at in New Jersey, and they said, "Oh my gosh, thank God you called. There is somebody in Odessa, Texas, who is desperately trying to talk to you." I was like, I don't know anybody in Odessa, Texas. Well, here's the number, you need to call them. Well, I didn't have any more money, so I had to go and get change so I could put more nickels and dimes and quarters into this phone booth. Called this number, and Odessa, Texas. I knew that was something that the company that I worked for, the laboratory that was in New Jersey, we had something in Texas, but I didn't know, I didn't care. And I got a hold of somebody, and they said, "Oh, thank God you called. There's a man that needs to talk to you." I said, "Okay." So this guy gets on the phone, and my first introduction to somebody with a very deep East Texas drawl, and introduced himself and said, "We're having some meetings and we need to know if you're going to move to Texas or not." And I said, "Okay, like when?" They said, "Right now." So honestly, covered the phone, turned to my wife of barely a year and said, "They want to know if we're moving to Texas." And she looked at me and said, "Do you have another job?" I said, "Nope," because we knew they were closing the lab. And she said, "Well, then I guess so," and turned around and stormed off. Don't relax. We're still married after 40 years. So I picked up the phone and I said, "Yeah, I guess we're coming to Texas." 2 months later, we were driving across country from northern New Jersey to Odessa, Texas. And northern New Jersey was as far south and west as we had ever traveled. So we were in for quite a shock. If you've ever been to West Texas, it is a geographic and culture significant shock from New England by far. And but we got there, and we started our family there. Lived there for almost 10 years. I had a chance to meet all sorts of new co-workers, new people, new friends. We have good friends that we still have today that still live there. Those were some of the folks that had never heard of Vermont. I know I'm sounding a bit cynical here, but some people with advanced degrees are like, what do you people eat up there? It's like, what do you mean, what do we eat? We eat the same thing you eat. Well, I found out that wasn't true, because there's a lot of things in Texas that we had never tasted before. But the moral of the story is taking a risk. We could have very easily just said, no, just gone back to our families, gone back to our comfort level, and said, "Man, this is where we're going to stay." I mean, talk about change. I mean, our life changed dramatically. Everything from literally, learning what tumbleweeds were, and scorpions and sandstorms. Biggest change we had to get used to. It was, and I say this jokingly but seriously, within the first month that we were there, it was very quickly explained to us the importance of Texas high school football. And because we just said, oh, whatever. And they go, "No, you don't understand. You will wear black on Fridays," because this was in the heyday of Permian and Friday Night Lights. And I was like, it's high school football. Who cares? Well, they took us to a game or two, and I was like, oh, now we understand. This is a little bit different. So, but yeah, so changed our life, and that was the beginning of our 40 years here in Texas. So it would have been real easy to not have done that. So it's another good example that we think about taking a risk and thinking about change, and there's an expression, I'm sure you've heard it: the only thing constant in life is change, and it's going to happen. So you can ignore it, or you can embrace it and do something with it. So let me tell you about the third time where these things came into play. We had been we've been in Odessa. I'm a chemist now. I'm working in the laboratories, helping develop new products. I'm traveling a bit, and we've started our family, had our first child, and life is going along pretty good. And then I had an opportunity to get involved with the development of a new product that became commercialized, and got to go out and help present it to some new customers and things like that from a technical service perspective. So that was interesting, and I got to travel. And then I got asked by some of our management, that our corporate headquarters for this company now is in Dallas, and they said, "We think you really should be in the business side of things. You're not quite as embarrassing and not quite as geeky and nerdy as most of the scientists. And when we take you out in front of customers, you seem to say the right things and do the right things. And we think you need to come into this side of the business and run this product line that you have developed." I said, "Hey, that's that's a wonderful offer, but you don't understand. I'm just a dumb old chemist. I've never taken a business course in my life. I've never taken a finance course. You know, I can barely balance a checkbook. My wife handles all the finances, so I can't do that. And they said, no. Come, come to the corporate headquarters, and you'll be a nice promotion, and you can run this business. If you need to learn more stuff, this is in Dallas. There's some good schools there. SMU, you can go get your MBA, take classes. We'll pay for it. I said, okay. Mentioned it, told my wife this is the opportunity. Don't think I quite had all the words out of my mouth, and she was packing so we could leave Odessa and get to Dallas. Odessa was nice, but if you've ever been there, it's a bit dry and a bit brown, and a bit limited on the dining and shopping. So moving to Dallas was definitely a good opportunity for that. So we did that. We picked up and moved there. I was petrified because they said, here you go. You have this business now. I go, yeah, but what about the school? What about all this? What about somebody showing me what to do? Oh, you're a smart guy. You'll figure it out. Long story short, I did figure it out. And it wasn't it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be, because most, if not all, of the principles that I had learned as a scientist about, following the scientific method, asking questions, getting data, making decisions based on things, it's the same stuff that you use when you're running a business. People say, geez, I don't know what to make on the plant. What should we schedule? How much inventory should we keep? Well, I don't know. Why don't we look at what the orders are? Why don't we look at the forecast? Why don't we put together a production schedule? And the next thing you know, it's like, wow, you're a genius. It's like, no, this is just common sense, isn't it? No, it wasn't to everybody, but I think that the point of that is if I hadn't taken that risk again and tried to change. Now, there was a lot of things that I didn't understand, so I did learn. I didn't go back and get my MBA, but I did take some courses, and just like, frankly, just so I could converse properly and not ask stupid questions or look silly or maybe make a really bad decision. So that's something that I've also learned over the years is you never stop learning, and you never stop asking questions to try to find out new things. You can always surround yourself with smart people who help you help them, right? And ultimately you get to the right answer. So that turned out to be a pretty good decision for me. Like I said, we lived there then for another 6 or 7 years in the Dallas area, and I got to grow the business, got to travel internationally for the first time. Went to Japan several times. We opened a joint venture plant there. Got to see things that I would never have ever seen otherwise. Go to Europe, opened a joint venture there in Germany. Again, got to do some things that I never would have done otherwise. So it's again, we think about it. I said, well, what if we hadn't taken it? What if I had just said, no, I'll just be a chemist and I'll just sit here in the lab and keep doing that? Probably could have done okay, but I wouldn't have had the opportunities to do the things. So you have to have confidence in yourself. You don't take foolish risks, right? And I think everybody realizes that. But look at the opportunities, and there are no opportunities out there that don't have some element of risk and some element of change, that you've got to do something different, and you've got to be willing to embrace that change and try to make the best out of it. So that worked really well for us from the early 90s, about 1991 to 1997 or so, I think it was, when Huntsman, the company I work for today, arrived on the scene and said, we're going to buy this company, and we don't need people in Dallas. We need everybody to move to Houston. And that's where our headquarters are, and that. So we packed up, we moved to Houston, and different organization, some of the similar people, lots of new people. And they said, you know what, this is great. Thank you for all the stuff you've done in the business, but now we really need you back on the technical side of things again, and we'd like you to head up all the R&D for one of these divisions that we've now merged together because of this acquisition. I said, okay, happy to do that. And you know why? Because I had done that before, and I had been involved in the business. So you had the advantage of seeing, you know, both sides or several sides of how the company works in that regard. So that was a very valuable thing. Did that for several years, and then in the early 2000s, a little over 20 years ago, the Huntsman embarked on a really major improvement effort. Simplistically, we knew how to get bigger. We just went out and bought stuff, and our founder and the management at that time was very good at that, buying things and growing the company. But what we weren't as good at is we could get bigger, but how do you get better? You know, become more efficient and do that. So we employed a program called Six Sigma. Some of you have probably heard of it, and it's an improvement effort that like many others, where you evaluate things. You look at your processes, you look at your customers, you look at how you do things, and it's very data driven. So for a scientist, it's wow, this is fun. Of course, get data, analyze numbers, and see where it leads you. Well, the point of that is, as part of that, our company was growing, and we had got all these things all over the country. We had offices and laboratories and everywhere, and we knew this wasn't well. We knew this wasn't the way it should be, and so I was asked to lead an effort to consolidate our laboratories and some of our offices. Our office at the time was down by the Galleria, and we had got some space up here in the Woodlands. So we made that move in the early 2000s, and I was one of the key team members that worked on that. Moving 300 people from down by the Galleria, 30-40 Post Oak, up to our current headquarters here, right off the waterway. And then very shortly after that, they said, we want to close down all of the laboratories that we have all around the country and build one big lab here in the Woodlands and have everybody come here. Go ahead and get that done, please. Okay. I was like, excuse me. Again, I'm a chemist. I got to run some of your businesses for a while. I don't know about construction, commercial real estate, architecture, permits, financing. They go, yeah, you'll figure it out. You seem like a smart guy. So we did. You make phone calls, you ask questions, you learn from others. I think it was there's another famous saying. I love famous sayings here. I think it was Gandhi that said this. Learn from others' mistakes. You'll never live long enough to make them all on your own. So you look at what things other people do that work well and what don't work well, and then you go from there. So in 2004, we started the design and the construction of what Monica described to you earlier, our Advanced Technology Center here in the Woodlands, which is up off of Gosling and New Trails. And shortly after that, closed down laboratories in Austin, Texas, in Odessa, Texas, in New Jersey, New York, Michigan, and a little bit in Los Angeles. And we moved them all here. Some of the people came, some of them said, no, not happening. We started growing it, and they said, this was good. Now please oversee this for us and run it and make this concept work that we had this vision of. And that's what, again, as I said, I've had the privilege of doing over the past almost 17, 18 years now. Going back to my two key points, taking a risk and embracing change. This one may not have been as much of a risk because, let's be honest, I really didn't have no was not really an option. When they asked me, I said, no, I'm not doing that. They would say, okay, well, then you're not working for us anymore. So, but it's embracing that change. And again, that's, at that point, I was probably in my, early mid 40s, and I had to learn some things. You have to kind of humble yourself and go, I don't know this stuff. Who can teach me? Who can help me understand how to do these things? And you do that. And again, I can look back on that now and go, I guess that worked okay. That's how I got involved with the Education for Tomorrow Alliance. We had been here only a year or so in the Woodlands. It was about 2006 when some representatives of the EfTA and the president of Lone Star College at the time, and the superintendent of CISD at the time, Dr. Stockton, showed up at the door and said, "You guys really need to get involved in this." And we said, "Sure, this is a great thing, and we want to be a part of that." So that's just just another unbelievable example. And I don't think I'm special. I don't think I'm fortunate that oh wow, look at all these things happened and it doesn't happen to anybody else. It can and it does happen to everybody. You just have to realize and recognize when these opportunities arise, and don't be afraid, right? And like I said, it's embracing change. Change is going to happen. You're going to have plans, and you're going to go, oh, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to do it, and something's going to change. And you can't let it defeat you. You've got to go, okay, how do I work with that? You've heard the expression, when you get lemons, you make lemonade, and you have to do that. It's not always a negative. It's sometimes it's presented that way, but it really isn't, and it shouldn't be. And if I also look back at those, some of the skills that I was able to learn and use to make those choices as I went through all those things, they're the basics: organizational skills, communication skills, right? I've said it before, don't hesitate to ask questions. Never stop learning. That's truly the essence of growth, and I'd like to think success. I've had the opportunity over my career to see some very successful people that in many cases has little or nothing to do with their formal education. It has to do with their street smarts and how they interact with people, how they communicate, how they make decisions, how they view life, right? And those are the things that will make a difference. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to share. I've had a great ride. I know it sounds like I'm headed to the grave here. It's not a eulogy. And one of these days I plan to stop working, but I'm still having too much fun. And and I still embrace challenges. I still, we talk about taking risks. People get scared of that word. Say, oh, you shouldn't take risks. Did you get up this morning and drive anywhere? You took a risk, right? I mean, there are risks every day. You can't eliminate them. You can't avoid them. You have to understand them and manage them, and don't make poor decisions and take unacceptable risks. That's really what it boils down to. So, yeah. So that's what I wanted to share with everybody tonight. I leave you with a quick story. I've used it in meetings and that many times. I've used it as a safety share, but it's just a good story that I think will short story that will kind of tie this together for you a little bit. So there was this company and a young executive, and this is not me, so don't read into this. Was working really late one night, and he went out of his office and he went walking down the hallway, and at the end of the hallway he saw the president of the company standing in the hallway, holding a piece of paper, standing over a paper shredder. And he was like, yes, the big boss is here really late. He's going to see me working really late. This is going to be great. I'm going to get some real brownie points. So he goes walking up to him and he says, good evening, sir. And the president of the company looks at him and he goes, oh, thank you. Thank God somebody's here. this is a critical document. And I got to be honest, my assistant's gone and I don't know how to use this thing at all. And so this young executive is just beaming. He's like, oh, he's seen me here working late and now I'm going to help him with something important. What could be better? So he says, no problem, sir. I got this for you. So he takes this piece of paper from the president, turns on the paper shredder, and it's going, and he's feeding it in. And the president looks at him and he goes, thank you so much. He goes, I just need one copy. Yeah. Moral of the story, ask questions, right? Don't make assumptions. I've learned that over the years, and it's very hard to ask questions asking up people, that you report to or that you might, see as a supervisor or even just as a mentor or something. You can't hesitate. You've got to ask, because you do that the right way and you learn. So anyway, Monica, Corinne, that's what I wanted to share with everybody. I hope it wasn't overly boring. I hope maybe it was a little bit interesting, and maybe you'll learn something. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. Yeah, Odessa's on my list of I don't want to move to in Texas.
That's not a bucket list, no.
All right, students, so if you have questions, again, you can use the Q&A feature or you can use the chat feature. Once you submit those, I'll know your name, I'll pull you over, ask you to unmute. Again, if you don't have your microphone or access to it or it's not working, just let me know that at the beginning of your question. That way I do not call you over. I'll still ask your question, but I just won't bring you over and ask you to unmute. Let's see, we have a hand raised. Okay. Marvin, I'm going to bring you over if you can unmute and ask your question.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I was just wondering, what does your wife do?
I'm sorry, what does my wife do?
Mm-hmm.
So she's a nurse. She got her bachelor's degree in nursing, and she was a nurse for many years. She hasn't been practicing for the past few years. As I went through my career and just as things occurred, as I traveled more and our kids were going through school, she kind of went from full-time to part-time and just kind of backed off from that. She's kept her nursing license active all the years, and she's kind of quote the Pellon family physician. So everybody calls her for advice and everything. But yeah, that's what she does. So we and that, again, that was not, I mean, that's something she always wanted to do. And when I go back to our, relating that to our, to what I just shared with you guys, we could do all those things that I described because she could get a job anywhere. She could do anything, right? If she was, as a nurse, when we moved to Odessa, she was 23 years old and they said, oh my God, you have a bachelor's degree? You're in charge. I mean, she literally, her second job in less than a year, she was in Odessa, was put as the charge nurse of a floor of 30 nurses or something, because they just were thrilled that somebody had a BS in nursing. So, yep.
All right. Thank you. I'm going to bring them back over. And then Tristan, I'm going to bring you over, ask you to unmute and ask your question. Let's see.
I think you're still muted, Tristan. There you go.
Oh, there you go. Nope, we can't hear you. So maybe it's your microphone. Put it in the chat. I want to make sure we get to your question if you do have one. All right, I'm going to put you back in the attendee list. If you can use the chat, let me know if your mic is working, if not, and all the things. All right, so can you talk about, I mean, I know Monica did kind of a little bit of introduction on what Huntsman does, and students might be very aware of what Huntsman is just because it is here locally. You guys take interns through our program every summer, but can you give a little bit about what the work Huntsman does? Because I know there's many components. I know whenever I've done a tour with you guys, there's many different departments, many different components that make up Huntsman, but just kind of like a snapshot of the different products and the different groups that you work with and things like that.
Sure, absolutely. So in the simplest of terms, we make and sell chemicals. You know, we're a global manufacturer. We've got somewhere around 8,000 employees around the world. We operate in like 70 different places in 40 some countries. And our products go into literally thousands of applications. The chemicals that we make, probably the primary areas they go into are in the world of energy, right? So our chemicals go into oil and gas. They're used as part of exploration, as part of refining, gas treating. Our chemicals go into the production of wind turbines. They go into the production of solar panels. Right here in Montgomery County, we have a manufacturing facility up in Conroe that many of you may or may not know about, off of Jefferson Chemical Road. We produce at that plant the key chemical. It's called ethylene carbonate. That is the key component in the production of lithium-ion batteries that goes into electric vehicles, hybrid or fully EVs. And that component, it's a key component of the electrolyte solution to make that. We're the only producer in North America that produces that. And so we're expanding because obviously, in case you hadn't noticed, a lot more electric vehicles and hybrids on the road. So we do a lot of things like that that go into energy. We have products that go into electronics. If you've ever heard of anything like a cell phone, tablet, computer, TV, blah, 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 I'm being flippant, anything that has that has a printed circuit board in it has a component on that circuit board of which there's a high probability that it was made from one of Huntsman's materials. We make products that go into power distribution, that go into through whether it's high voltage, medium, low voltage, into the power distribution, through insulators and transformers and things like that. We make a wide variety of chemicals that go into transportation, that go into the production of cars, seating, instrument panels, steering wheels, headrests, a lot of those types of things, which are the foams and some of those materials that go into there. Those same products go into bedding. If you've ever had a memory foam mattress, memory foam pillow, or topper, that is what's called a viscoelastic polyurethane. We're one of the major producers of those chemicals, sell to companies like Tempur-Pedic and that all around the world. We make chemicals that go into shoes, that go into shoe soles, that go into recreational sporting goods, composites that go into bicycles, that go into snowboard, skis, all those types of things. Those same types of composites, which are replacements for metal, right? They're carbon fiber type of things. They're reinforced. They're super strong and super light. Biggest demand for that today is in aerospace. If you've been on a Boeing 787 or Airbus 350, both of those planes are about 50% composite material, not aluminum, not metal. And that's weight reduction. It's stronger, it's better, and that's savings on fuel and things like that. So we do those types of things. We make products that go into adhesives and sealants that go on anything from putting furniture together to sealing the sides of tankers that transport natural gas across the ocean and keep it from leaking and blowing up, and everything in between. And we make chemicals that go into, as I said, that go into gas treating. If you go to the gas station around here, if you go to a Chevron station, for example, if you're standing, you look at the pump and it says Chevron with Techron. Techron is this additive that they have that makes your engine burn clean, and that 90% of that is a Huntsman chemical. If you go to a Shell station, you'll even see it. It'll say our nitrogen containing compounds make your engines burn cleaner. They're Huntsman's nitrogen containing compounds that we sell to companies like Shell. So, and that's just a smattering. I mean, literally thousands of more applications. So how do we make those? What do we do? Well, here in the Woodlands, we do all aspects of the development of those, from truly synthesizing brand new chemicals to product development, to application development, new products into existing applications. How do we help our customers go, if they come up with a new idea, how do we help them find a product that will meet those needs, which are generally what we as consumers want, all the way through to process development. So, there's two aspects of research and development. There's what I like to think of as the what new molecule, what new formulation is going to meet the need. And then once you've got that, then the second aspect is, well, how am I going to produce this on a large scale so that we can actually sell it and get it out into the marketplace? Well, that involves lots of people, from chemists and scientists that work on the how to the chemical engineers who work on the what. Excuse me, I said that backwards. That work on the what, and the chemical engineers that work on the how. How are we going to make this, and how are we going to do this? And everybody in between, from lawyers who help us with intellectual property and patents and contracts to accountants, to nurses, to purchasing agents, to IT people, to everything across the board. So all of it's driven around how can we make new things, right? And again, not to plug the company too much, but I mean, our tagline under our logo is enriching lives through innovation, and that's what it's about. Because if you're not innovating and you're not coming up with new stuff, you're not going to survive and grow. So yes, as Corinne said, we for the past, well, at least 15 plus years, we've supported the EfTA with the student internship program. I know we have intern positions there this year. It doesn't say Huntsman in the book. It just says, a chemical research laboratory. So I think you can figure it out if you look at it. Yeah, it's a key part. We want to foster, younger people to have an interest in STEM, because A, we think it's the right thing to do, and B, it's self-serving, because if we don't have people getting degrees in chemistry and engineering and science and technology, then our companies, and companies like Huntsman, to be honest, we lose a workforce, and that's a critical thing to have.
Yeah. I'll share more details about the internship program at the end if you're a junior. So stay tuned for that, but thank you. All right, it looks like we have another hand raised. Cleta, I'm going to bring you over if you could unmute, and then Tristan, I'll get you again. So we'll try that again. Let's see if this works. Let's see, I'm asking you to unmute. Oh. Right. We'll go back and then I'll try Tristan again. All right, Tristan, if you can, yeah.
Hello?
Yes,
There,
we can hear.
We got you.
I'm sorry I wasn't here for like the first 7 minutes of the session. I was just gonna ask, what do you do?
So I'm the vice president of research and development for Huntsman. So I oversee our technology center here in the Woodlands, and the operation of the labs, oversee the operations of our corporate headquarters here. Like I said, I'm a chemist by training, so I know what everybody does, but I don't actually go and do it anymore. So That's part of progressing through the career is helping others do it better than I could do it.
Thank you. All right, I think that's all of our hands for right now.
Can I ask a question? Can you talk a little bit, especially a company that like Huntsman that has sort of worldwide presence? How do you cultivate the culture? Like, I mean, it's one of those things. And now Kurt and I get to visit the center, which it seems like everybody loves what they do. I mean, it's part of it in exploration. There you get to play. It seems like there's more an opportunity to fail and try again at a place like that is really about that type of development. But it just seems that folks really enjoy their work. So I obviously can't. I don't know that exists everywhere in the company. But what are there specific things that you do as a leader, or that the company as a whole tries to do to make it a good place to live, to work?
So, I don't know if there's a secret sauce. I mean, every company has their culture, and that I think, and I'm going to sound a bit preachy here, but we just absolutely go on and on. I don't even know what the best adjective is for it. I mean, just like a broken record. We talk about our values. So we have 4 values at Huntsman: honesty, integrity, respect, and responsibility. And we talk about them all the time. And everybody, I would be, and each site has a compliance officer whose job is to make sure that the folks at that site understand that. I'm the compliance officer for our 2 facilities, and I would be very upset as if I could walk around and I asked somebody of the 800 plus people in the Woodlands, say, hey, quick quiz, what's the 4 Huntsman values? And if they couldn't pop off honesty, integrity, respect, responsibility, maybe if it was a new hire and they'd only been there for a couple of weeks, I'd be surprised and they'd be embarrassed if they couldn't. And so I say that, Monica, because it goes back to our genetics, to the DNA of the company and our founder, because that's just what was important to him. And he believed in that's how you do business, right? You don't need contracts, you don't need lawyers, you don't need all the stuff that we actually have. He hated them. But if he went to do business and you shook hands and said, I give you my word, then that's all that mattered, right? And that. So that's a big part of it. That's one big part of it is that honesty and integrity. And when you talk about, and it doesn't matter what aspect of business, obviously when you're, selling things to a customer, or you're, putting together a contract with a vendor in an R&D, the scientific method is, I have an idea, I have a hypothesis, because this is what I want to happen, what I think is going to happen. So let me do some experiments. Well, it doesn't always work. There's always temptation to go, well, let me just make it work. Let me just fudge them a little bit. So, hey, look, I did it. I made it. That doesn't work, because you know what's going to happen? That's going to fail on a giant scale when we get it to a manufacturing facility. So that, that's just it's just not an option. So those things are very, I think that's why people enjoy that, because that mindset is there. Probably the other one that's the biggest one that we talk about, I'm probably not overly exaggerating, almost every single day, is the third one: respect, honesty, integrity, respect. We are a multicultural company. We work together. We spend more time with each other at work than we spend with our families sometimes. I'm reminded of that by my family frequently. But you got to treat everybody with respect. You can disagree. We disagree a lot, but you have healthy disagreements, and you grow and you learn from those, right? But that's the key. And the last one, responsibility, that falls under a whole bunch of things. It could be, just social responsibility, or environmental responsibility. It's just basically saying, own up to it, right? If you did it, raise your hand. I made a mistake, or hey, we don't do that, or whatever the case may be. So I really think that's it, Monica. And every company has something, right? That focuses everybody into a common goal, and that's ours. And you know, our founder, John Huntsman Sr. I mean, he just that was his credo. That's what he lived by. You know, his son Peter Huntsman, who's the president and CEO today. I know you've met him, and that he has that same mindset and lives by that. So I think that's what it is. And it's funny, even though people that join the company today, somebody new, you know, joins the company, they've never had that history, right? They've never met, you know, had the opportunity to meet our founder and former chairman. But it's just there. It's just in the air. It's in the water, and they see, you know, peer pressure is a wonderful thing, right? When they see people acting a certain way, you know, geez, I guess that's the norm, and that's how we're supposed to act. And when it all works, you know, then all is good. It's not perfect. If it was, I'd be out of a job, but it works.
I'm going to encourage students, if they have maybe time for one more questions, I'm going to go ahead and ask one in the meantime. What is a very proud or proudest moment for you? I mean, it seems like you were put in charge of some pretty big things along the way, and those worked out. What would you say is a proud moment at work?
Oh, you know, I'm so blessed and so lucky. I've had many things that have worked well. Being able to develop a new product, literally from inception, from a brand new chemical that I was able to get patents on, and a composition of matter patent, which is very hard to get. See it through production, through scale up into production, and we built a facility to produce this product, take it out, introduce it to the market, be asked to lead that business. When that all that happened when we were in Odessa. After the company was sold, unfortunately, or however you want to look at it, the company that had what was left of that site in Odessa was sold to different pieces and kind of split up. Much of it, a vast majority of it, was literally shut down, dismantled, bulldozed, and that. You know, we left there, that happened in 97. So we're, you know, 25 years later now. At one point there was 700-800 people working at that site making 30 different products. There is one plant sitting there today, still operating profitably. And it's the one that we started that chemical with, you know, almost 35 years ago. So yeah, that's something that I'm probably pretty proud of. Can't say I had everything to do with it, but it's a team effort.
So it looks like no one else has a question. So we will do our usual ending. At the end, we like to say, what advice would you give your 17-year-old self?
So, you know, the proverbial, knowing what I know now, and that, I would be more, I would tell myself, looking at the things that I've talked about here this past hour, do not be afraid to take a risk, and don't be afraid to embrace change. You know, I talked about 3 or 4 of the times that I did do that and it worked out. Trust me, there's many more where we didn't do that, and I go, geez, what if we had done that? So because you know, I probably let fear or some other thing get in the way. So, you know, knowing now that it's not all bad, I would tell myself, you know, take more chances, do some things. Good risks, calculated risks, right? No bungee jumping.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Students, I know we can't see you, but I know that you know how to use the chat. Can you help me thank Mr. Pellon for joining us this evening? I mean, I've known you since I've been in the role since EfTA, but I learned new things. So we appreciate you giving your time. Students, we hope there were some nuggets and tidbits that you could take away. One thing following up on the internship program, if you are a junior in Montgomery County, our application is out on the website. Monica did post it in the chat, but it's for a 2-week, 80-hour in-person internship this summer. And current juniors, so if you're a junior, you'll be a senior in the fall, can apply for that. Applications are due April 10th. If you've got more questions, you can find the details on the website. Your college and career counselor also, if you go to one of the Conroe ISDs at the local private schools, they can also answer the questions that you might have. So thank you guys for joining us. We'll be back here in April with 2 more sessions, and then probably wrap with 1 in May, and then take a break for the summer, and then we'll be back in the fall. So thank you guys again. Brian, thank you as always for joining us this evening and being part of EfTA and the support that you give us and the students in our area and all the things. So students, with that, you are dismissed.